She grew up with the restless spirit of a girl named Melissa, in a house haunted by tragedy. Here is Twitch streamer FreddyDreadfuls' true scary story.
So I lived in a house in Levittown, Pennsylvania. It was one of the first suburbs that were created in the United States after the war. Or is it before the war? I can't recall. These houses were housing for people that worked in the factories that surrounded the Levittown areas. And this haunting apparently only started in the 70s, 80s. From what I was told by an elderly neighbor who I used to sell Girl Scout cookies to, there was an abusive father in the house and there were 2 young daughters and a mother. The father was abusive to the one daughter, and because of the way that child services was back then and there weren't a lot of secure rights for children, just the one child was removed from the house. The problem was removed from the house. And then later on they found her body in a trash bag in the Magnolia Hill Creek. I had this confirmed by a retired cop who became a substitute teacher, and I was talking about my haunted house in middle school, and I talked about the little girl Alyssa who ended up in the trash bag. I recall that case. I didn't work that case, but I recall that case. And I'm like, okay, little bit of confirmation. But according to the neighbor, the father said that was abusing the other daughter, Melissa. The mother was not having it. And so he hung her in the backyard and he set the house on fire, which the daughter died from smoke inhalation. My sister and I were on our computer. It's like Windows 95. I'm talking old computer. And we're playing a game called Mookie Takes Manhattan. I know it's an old game. So the screen goes black. We are waiting for it to load. And then we see a tall, thin woman walk past us in the reflection. And we think nothing of it because our mom is tall and thin. And so we're like, okay, whatever. But she's walking back towards the backyard. And we hear Nani, Jada, our nicknames, me and my sister. And we immediately look at each other like, that was the one and only time we've ever seen the mother. A couple years later, our mom's boyfriend at the time was helping us trim the trees in our backyard because we had 35 trees and bushes. Pretty much a forest on our property. So the guy Mike, he's sawing at tree branches and he's cutting stuff down, and the pine tree that's in our backyard, a piece of rope is still attached to a branch up high in the tree. And so we were like, is this the rope? I can't think of anything else that it would be for. Yeah, it's not like it hung over the pool, so it would be like a rope swing tree. No, this is just a straight pine tree. Why? There's no reason for that rope to be in the tree. I was displaced. Our mother kicked me out of my room so she could take our room when she moved in. And so I'm sleeping in the old kid's bedroom that's like a storage room, but it's if you know the style of a Levittown rancher, it is the smallest bedroom in the back. Now I'm sleeping in that room and I get this cold touch on the back of my neck. And for every 20 minutes, for a couple hours, I hear this blood-curdling scream that almost sounds like an animal and a human like mushed together. And I'm panicking because it's in the middle of the night. I'm going to my grandmom, I'm going to my sister. No one hears this noise, but then I hear it again, and it doesn't stop until I leave that room and I stop sleeping in that room. And then I go out into the family room and I start sleeping there, and then it stopped. My sister and I started seeing Melissa when we were about 5-6 years old. We saw her at first, she was only in the corner of your eye, reflections, mirrors. And as we stayed there longer and longer, like she started like manifesting herself. She moved things. Things would constantly go missing. And then you'd walk out of the room, you'd come back, and your stuff was there. Like, my sister would literally call out to her and be like, hey, I need that thing. I need the thing. Stop it. And not even an hour later, the thing has now reappeared. It happened way too often to be a coincidence. Way too often. Of course, it sounds crazy because, like, you hear horror stories like supernatural, things like that. It's always a white nightgown, but like it had trim on it. It wasn't plain white. It had pink trim. I want to say it was originally white, but again, she died in a fire, like in a fire. So when we were about like 10 and 12, so we had already been seeing her. Our grandmother didn't believe us. We didn't, we told her about the little girl. No one completely passed them. They don't believe in ghosts. They don't see anything. They're not paying attention. And that happens a lot, and especially with children, because apparently children are able to they're more sensitive to those things. That's why there are so many creepy children's stories. But so we knew that there was someone. It just took us a while to finally see everything and then piece it all together. So yeah, we found out when we were like 10, 12 from an old lady down the street. Again, I don't know if they were twins, but I know that they were close in age. It's 4:00 in the morning. It's during the summertime. I'm on an AOL chat room, like dial-up. Like, it is old times here. My sister is in theater, and she was in a play, and she had this really thin lime green feather boa that used to sit on top of the computer monitor. There's no fan on. There's nothing going on. But I start feeling like this tension in like my shoulders, and then the feather boa just flies off of the computer monitor, and then I yell. I'm like, leave me alone. And then my shoe goes into the air and then hits me in my face, like just from across the room, goes up and then hits me in my face. I cried, I peed myself, and then I ran to my room. I want to say I think that was the first time that I peed myself. Because it became very real, but nothing ever like that happened again, other than Melissa moving things and then them reappearing. Like, nothing assaulted. There was one day my grandmother was like, hey, go in my room to my drawer and grab the cough drops for your brother. And I'm like, sure. Oh God, I have inky feelings just remembering this. Okay, so I walk into my grandmother's room and she has a little archway, not like any other door in the house. It's like a circle arch, and she has 2 different color carpets. There's one, the hallway, the beige that leads to her door. You open the door, and then there's like a cream, like a lighter color. And there's, her doorway, and then there's a little nook, and then there's the threshold, and then you walk into her room. I passed that threshold and something grabbed into my shoulder blades. I'm talking like, oh, sorry, I haven't thought about this in a while. Yeah, like it literally right in here just suck its little fingers into me. And for some reason, instead of just immediately running out, I ran around the bed, grabbed the cough drops, and ran back out. And the second I got out of I crossed back out of the room, it let me go. And it's not like it wasn't like I wasn't supposed to be there. My grandmother told me to go to the room. She told me to go grab this thing. And I was there for 14 years, like 1,000 times over. And I had never been like grabbed before, but that was the only time that I was grabbed. There was another time my bedroom was the living room at one point. For quite some time though. I was laying in bed. My bed's in the corner of the room, and so there's no one behind me. Nothing there. I get a on like the back of my neck, and because I know that no one's there, I start crying. Like something just made its presence known, and it was right there. Not like something at the corner of your eye, not something across the room. No, it was blowing on the back of your neck. It's a terrifying feeling. Like it's excruciating, especially as a child. So there's that. But when you would say Melissa's name, she would appear. So it got to the point where when people would ask me about the haunting of the house, I would take them outside, walk them all the way to the end of the driveway, and be out on the street. And that is when I would tell them about the house. And we learned this lesson because our fake cousins were living with us because their housing situation got messed up. And so my mom's best friend and her 2 sons, they were living with us. And they're asking me about the haunting because they feel something's not right here, and I'm like, yeah, nothing's right, nothing's good. And so I'm telling them about Melissa and the younger brother, Keel. There's Keel and Jory. So Keel, he looks up, and then he looks up into my grandmother's doorway where we originally started seeing her. He looks up into my grandmother's doorway, starts screaming at the top of his lungs, runs, books it. And then his brother looks like it was like one right after the other. They just start screaming, and then they ran. And I'm like, don't look up, don't look up, don't look up, don't look up. There she is. And that's when we found out that she died of smoke inhalation. Like the old lady didn't tell me that she died, like she died in the fire. That's all that she told us. When you see her, you can see that she died from suffocation. And then that next morning, I woke up with her over me, not crouched, like her face just over my face, like veiny, like bloodshot eyes just staring into yours. And oh my God, I'm about to cry. Like, it is one of the most horrific, like growing up in a haunted house is like, when it's actually haunted, is terrible. Like, people joke about these things and they're like, or like, watching haunted movies. I was on the floor, like my cousins are sleeping on the couches. They're all stuff. We've got cushions everywhere. And so the couch is right here. I wake up and then her face is like here. I black out. And then when I woke back up, I was hysterically crying. That's why I won't watch scary movies. Like I said, I can't do it. I can't put myself through that fear because that fear was never entertainment for me. It was never an outlet. It was never a fun thing to do. It was always, it could happen to me. It has happened to me. I don't want it to happen again.
To share your experience, please visit truescarystory.com. See you soon.